Hey guys, and welcome back for the finale of the story of Sonic and the Black Knight. We hope you enjoyed those credits, but there is still more story to go. So, if you went off and you thought the game was done, please feel free to hand in your gamer card, because you are no longer welcome to rise up with the rest of us.
Yeah, no journalists allowed here, folks.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that the game necessarily does a good enough job of signifying that that wasn't actually the end of the story.
I agree, yeah.
Like, I don't blame journalists who thought that that was the end, because credits play. Like, unless you do a proper fake out at the end of that, or go the end, question mark, you don't think, oh, I'll go back and have a look. You just think, oh, I've seen credits, I'm done. But I would say that I think that this sort of second section of the game is really cool.
It's pretty good.
The twist, I think, is really quite clever, and certainly not something that I think anybody really expected to happen. And I just really like that. It's a really nice twist.
I killed him. He's gone.
Yeah, it was in cold blood, and I held me sword up in pride and everything. It was sick. You should have been there, mate.
King Arthur was a ruse. I've been gaslighting you throughout all of history.
It was just a prank, bro.
It was, and you fell for it, Sonic the Hedgehog.
But I mean, also, to be fair, this is more real to the actual myth of Arthur, because most people think that, yeah, there was no real King Arthur. He was just sort of a fictional creation, which is basically what Melina's been saying all along.
What? I shall make this kingdom eternal.
That music, though.
It is pretty great.
I know.
Credit where credit's due, this is a lovely scene for this, like, style. Why wasn't this CGI as well as the next one? That kind of bugs me a little bit.
Budget.
Yeah. They must have had, like, a reduced budget, because it's a very... Like, we said it's ambitious, but it's not long at the same time, so...
This, you gotta remember, the CG they've got here, this is pre-rendered CG, which... It takes a lot more work to get that running, especially when you can see that these aren't at all using game models or anything. This is new models for the cutscene. So, you know, when you're actually animating something like this, it doesn't have the leeway that stuff like, say, Unleashed and Generations and Forces and that have, where they can just use the game models and it's a lot easier to put together.
God, it looks so fucking good, man. And I like that, like, the other knights are escaping with him, so it's not just kind of like, you have your gameplay, and then you have, like, your cutscenes, and there's, like, separation in terms of logic and themes. No, it's all together. But this is a timed mission. You gotta escape from the castle before it reconfigures, I guess?
I guess so, yeah, but, like, you're not gonna run out of time here. It's very much a, like, Green Forest, Bright Jungle kind of deal, where, like, there's a time limit, technically, but it's so generous.
Blows up!
You don't worry. Yeah, well, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine, you can put it in the right place and post it. No one will know you fucked up your timing big time there.
Fuck water. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that one.
That's not gonna work in real life, I can tell you that now. If Elsa can't fuck with the ocean, we can't fuck with the ocean.
I like how you get your understanding of physics from Disney films.
I wasn't talking about, like, physics and whatnot, I was just talking of the practicality of, like, cutting the ocean in twain.
Well, yeah, but you're seeming to forget Moana in this narrative, because even though she can't necessarily control the ocean's like her bestie, so she could just ask it nicely and it'd be fine.
Did you mean a stand?
No, I meant Moana.
Oh, well, you could have called it Ocean Man. Take me by the hand.
God.
Yeah, no, not gonna do that. Although, to be fair, if you were gonna give Moana a stand, it would clearly be called How Far I'll Go. So, just, like, let's be real here.
That's pretty good. So, Flame, how did you feel at, like, this point during your initial run, mate, with the twist and, like, this level as a whole? Like, what was going through your mind?
I'm not sure exactly, it was so long ago that I played this for the first time, and I feel like this is one of them games that I came to appreciate a lot more on repeated playthroughs. Like, as I mentioned in the first part, like, it takes a little while for you to realise how to appreciate the timing-based gameplay rather than the waggle. So I feel like the second time around, I liked this a lot more than I did the first time around. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that, because I mean, even though I know that I remember really enjoying the game, I do remember thinking, this is way too short, I wish it was longer. But, I mean, on the flip side of that, it's good that the game made me want to play more of it. Like, there are games which you sort of play through and you're just like, oh god, just finish already. At least I wanted more, rather than thinking, like, could I have less, please? So I like that side of things, but I agree that sort of subsequent playthroughs just made me go, oh no, actually I do really like that bit. It made me appreciate things a lot more than I had initially realised. I remember sort of when I sort of came back to it, because I think actually, because I played it the first time, I think I did one version of the playthrough and I think I did a Redux. Very much like this one, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And I think sort of when I came to do that Redux one, I was just like, oh no, I do really like this game. I'd forgotten how much I did actually enjoy it. And that's just always a nice feeling for any game, really.
Well, I think there's like one point in this game where I'm like, I'm not really a fan of this, and it is actually an upcoming level, whereas in like Secret Rings there are multiple points where I'm like, oh, I don't really care for that. Like Skeleton Dome maybe as a whole is probably one of them. So in that regard, Black Knight is, you know, a triumphant improvement over the flaws of Secret Rings. It has its own flaws, but overall I guess I'll grant you even that it is a better game overall.
Hey!
Good.
I think like in terms of like wanting to do stuff like Richie mentioned, like it's got that over Forces, it's got that over Lost World and whatnot, and I would much rather boot up this than either of those nowadays.
Agreed.
I do feel like, if we're just backtracking a little bit about like the time that it takes to beat, I feel like that's something that becomes less of a problem over time, and that kind of comes down to the whole value for money kind of debate. Because if you've just, like, when this first came out, if you've just bought a new game at whatever it was full price, I can't remember whether this was full price or whether it was like a bit cheaper, it was so long ago, but like, then you'd be a bit burnt out if you're kind of done with it after a few hours. Whereas like nowadays, if you're just going back to it for a bit of fun, it's either a copy that you've been sitting on for years, or it's one you picked up pre-owned for a £5. It's not that big of a deal, all things considered. So there is that kind of going to it, although by the same token there is also the whole direction of where the game time was put, because like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of optional bonus missions here that are a bit, some are cool, some are not so much, and it kind of makes you wonder why they didn't just put some of the resources they're dedicated to that into bulking out the story a bit more.
I think that is definitely a valid query, and I would be interested to know that as well. Part of me wonders whether it was once again budget. They only had enough to really create as many levels as they did here, and then it was a case of, right, how do we sort of go about filling this out? Because if they've only got so many levels, that's only so many kind of points where they can put cutscenes in.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like creating new enemies or whatever, you can only create so many gameplay loops for the different levels, and that sort of then you just sort of keep limiting yourself down into what is physically possible, and so you'll then sort of have to, you know, iterate across most of them, because in most of the optional levels they are much of a muchness in that you've got ones which are rampages, you've got ones which are timed, ones which are kind of give money to the townspeople who are still terrifying to look at.
Yep.
And then the more interesting ones, which are the legacy missions, which obviously we'll go into in the extras. Extras, well, the side missions. And so I think that's probably what it is that, yeah, just money, you sort of cut yourself down. And so then, yeah, this was all that they were able to really get out for the main story, because they were just sort of too limited in what they're able to get done.
Well, see, I kind of get that in the sense of it's expensive and time-consuming to make new assets, so I don't expect new worlds, because that is the sort of thing where they would have to create new assets from scratch. Whereas, given all these levels, they seem to be structured in a way that there's like a main level, and then there's like the rampage or the gimmicky ones to pad out the story and that a little bit. I don't think many people would mind having like an Act 1 and Act 2 of each of the main levels.
That'd be pretty cool, actually, yeah.
because then at least like you're getting a bit more mileage. And yes, I feel like we do need to talk about the other playable characters here, given we're seeing Lancelot on the screen here.
What's cool about this is optional. You don't have to play as any of the other knights at all. You can do all these like story missions as Sonic, but the fact that like you get different gameplay styles at all, not all of them are like great. Like I like Lancelot, I like Gawain. I'm not the hugest fan of Percival because, let's be fair, she's probably the most skill-based out of all the knights, and Lord knows I'm just in it for the waggle and whatnot. But maybe it's the level like she's thematically bound to that I have a problem with more than the character herself. But we'll talk about Percival when we get to her, because this obviously is the finale. It's a long part, lots to cover. But this level is great. Like Lancelot is super fun because he can teleport. He does all these like cool flips and whatnot. I would be surprised if he like fucking dabbed on the haters like during these combos.
Well, I mean, he did in fucking Sonic Heroes.
He did. Yeah. No, he's not joking. He unironically dabs during like a fucking like launch jump and whatnot.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Another reason why I love Shadow and it's the best character. But I will say, in terms of how I feel about the optional characters, you kind of summed up my thoughts unintentionally there, Tom, by saying it's cool that you don't have to play as them. Because I will say I don't really care for the playstyle of any of these three. If I weren't doing a playthrough and I weren't trying to show things off, I would just be playing as Sonic, because he's the fastest one to play as out of all of them. And like all of the other characters, they have like little gameplay mechanics and that slow them down, and I also find them a lot more fiddly. Yeah. And it makes sense that they weren't fleshed out as much, given you're only really going to be using them either for optional missions or for these 3 levels in the main game. So like it makes sense that it didn't get as much refining as Sonic's gameplay did, but you know, like I much prefer playing Sonic.
Oh, that feel when butterflies are trying to confuse you and whatnot.
Oh god.
Yeah, I would say sort of my place with the optional characters is I do think that they maybe could have done a better idea of signalling which character related to which area a little bit better, because you go into them, it sort of automatically puts you to Sonic, but each character is linked to one area in terms of the cutscene that's going to play afterwards. But also I would say that bar Gawain, I would say that both Lancelot and Percival's levels are not necessarily best suited to their skill sets.
No.
Percival's level is made a lot more difficult because of the quirks of how she plays. Just as I would say that this level is made a little bit more difficult because of the quirks of how Lancelot plays, because if you have the glide, which Gawain has, then this is so much simpler, because you can just fly over those sections where the vines are coming out of the ground.
Those sections fucking suck, man. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat that at all.
Yeah, they really do.
Oh yeah, they do. Especially with Lancelot, because I don't think that his homing attack really gives you enough distance to get over them if you don't hit the tree stump jump perfectly, and so you're frequently going to fall and get hit. Whereas if you use one of the other characters, it's a much easier ride. And I do think that was a poor decision to go with. I think that they probably should have moulded the levels that those characters are intended to be in to better suit their gameplay style, so therefore it's easier to play as that character in that level, because then it just makes it more likely that you're going to do it and have a good time doing it.
Well, just take the thorned vines out, honestly. That gameplay mechanic's not just gonna work. Just put some fucking enemies there. Like,
I mean, yeah.
I feel like it is really fiddly as well. Like, I swear that sometimes my control drops when, like, you're doing that launching thing, or you have to time the homing attack very specifically mid-jump. It's very weird.
There you go. Oh, well, it's a good job I have a bevy of other weapons, because I'm sure as shit not taking this one with me.
This stone is but part of the ring that sealeth the...
I mean, like, Sonic did already use this to summon the fake King Arthur's death, so it's already got a bit of bad history behind it.
Summon the fake King Arthur's death? Did you mean enable? Because summon means something entirely different.
It summoned the Grim Reaper to him, that's what I meant.
Ah, I see. He inhabited Sonic, so Sonic is not culpable for that death at all. Interesting.
Exactly. Please, officer, listen.
As he get dragged away. No, it was the Sonic, I tell you. It was the butterflies.
Oh. God.
Great music here in Great Megalith, fittingly enough. And yeah, I would say Gawain is the one that feels most at home here, especially when you have this luscious, like, grass to glide over or whatnot. It just feels great.
Oh yeah.
It does, but I find that his climbing mechanic kind of sucks, and I will get stuck on a couple of walls because I could never quite get that to work properly. But yeah, again, I've said my piece, I don't really like these other characters, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the weirdness that comes with Gawain is that to attack, he does pretty much have to fully stand still to do his attacks, and obviously his Soul Surge thing throws from a distance, it's not close up, and so that can be a little bit more challenging to do, but the whole gliding thing is honestly just, and the gliding and the diving, is just really cool and really fun, and does make levels quite a bit more, well, quite a bit easier. It's basically the Kirby effects, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, Gawain's the power character, so getting through swords of enemy is like no problem, but like Flame said, his climbing is a little bit clunky, and I wouldn't say these characters are like refined and whatnot. They very clearly put more time into Sonic than they did for these optional characters. What are you doing, Flame?
Legitimately trying, but I couldn't get it going properly. I made it up eventually, guys.
Oh well.
I feel like in terms of Gawain's combat, what makes him more difficult for me to get a hang of with my personal playstyle is that he just stops after a hit for a couple of frames, whereas you spent this whole game playing as Sonic and you just keep moving. You know, you do the spinny kind of sword attack and, you know, you can just keep on going along, whereas Gawain, no matter whether you're on the floor or in the air, he's going to stop for a period of time.
Yeah.
And that does kind of change the pacing of battle quite a lot.
It alters the meta of Sonic and the Black Knight, if you will.
Yeah, you know, it fucks with the frame rate. I can't play it to like pro strat strength.
God, can you imagine if like the fourth piece of Ultimate DLC shows up and it's just Gawain? It's not even like Knuckles, it's just Gawain, and his model is ripped straight from the Wii version of the game.
Well, no, they wouldn't do something cool like that. Sonic characters are going to get the most basic bitch alt colours, you know, regardless of what.
I was going to make a joke like, who are they going to put in some nobody like Badger and Kazooie, but your joke was not only funnier, it also makes sense.
Well, I mean, they're just fucking ukulele clones, who gives a shit?
Mate, I've been watching fucking Pat's girlfriend play a puzzle game all afternoon. You can't crack my mental fortitude right now.
Oh, Jesus, what was that LP not going too well?
Well, it's Barbara is you, so it's a logic game involving words, and she has lupus, which actually makes her partially, brain damage would be the kindest way to put it.
Alright, so yeah, it's not the sort of thing that's going to be too easy for someone.
So it's like, I'm getting, but then it's like, oh, and then it's like, oh, I'm a bad person for getting mad in the first place.
It's fine, you're going to feel bad about consuming Let's Plays.
Yeah, well, I feel bad about making a Let's Play, consuming, we'll get to that whenever the Grim Reaper comes a calling, I suppose. And just going back to your whole thing about how Gawain is like want to stop or pace himself weirdly, that kind of puts him at odds with these really nasty spiders, which, oh man, they want to do stuff and they want to do it right now, no stopping.
They do just surround you, so if you're not quick enough, you will likely get twatted, like, just from trying to take them out one at a time.
Yeah.
Which there probably is, like, an intended way to fight them that I'm not clocking onto, so I can't really write off the mechanic for that, because it just as likely is that I'm playing badly and I will own that, but still, it is really fiddly.
You're almost there, Flame. We shall put his swords into the sword container, and then stuff will happen. I'm not sure of the mechanics, honestly.
No, I think sword container isn't quite how, like, the ancient stone is referred to in the book, but you know.
Yeah, I see.
I got 2 stars as Knuckles and I don't give a fuck.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, nobody cares about the rankings in this game, honestly, unless you're trying to get some of the sort of stuff in the gallery. I can't remember whether getting 5 stars in these things does equate to some bonuses that you need to get. I mean, some of the bonus stuff in this game is really, really annoying to try and pick up, because it's like getting 5 stars on things. defeating certain things without getting hit, collecting all of the items, which is ridiculous because it's entirely random, and I mean the whole thing is collecting the townspeople as followers. Like, the only way to get all of them is to replay the same levels again and again and again and again and again until you sort of, run out of ones to pick up. Which seems a bit flawed, if you ask me, but, there we go.
So yeah, good point from Gawain here. Like, we did see Excalibur's scabbard, never the sword itself, so I wonder where it could be. Oh, where is it? Where is it?
Sonic's got it!
Sounds like some antics are afoot. But yeah, speaking of the gallery...
Alrighty, the cauldron.
Yeah, we're in the cauldron next, which is basically using the same kind of lava aesthetic as Molten Mine, just a bit darker. But it looks cool, but I don't like the level itself. It's one of them kind of dealios.
Like, before we get to Percival, you had something to say about the gallery, mate.
Yeah, I do want to say, like, I do hope nobody's horribly disappointed that we're not going to have like a half hour at the end of me scrolling through the gallery slowly while we find something to talk about.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
So, I mean, not subtweeting anyone there at all, but like, I can't remember if it was this game or one of the others. I seem to recall it being this one. Wasn't there an issue where they had a contest to get artwork in the game and it turned out that some of them were plagiarised?
I don't think that was this game. I think that was the T-shirt in Pokemon Sword and Shields.
No, like, this was before that.
Oh, I mean, it might have been, but either way, I still do quite like the videos, because with that sort of whole art thing, they did videos with an acoustic version of Night of the Wind, of like people's art from all over the world of Sonic, and that was just really cool. Also, this is the bit that I really truly hate with Percival, because
yes,
she doesn't really have a homing attack. She has a sort of double jump flip, and her kind of charge doesn't always get you across, and it's so easy to get completely screwed over in that section.
Yep.
Everything after that point, pretty okay. That sort of early moments is, I would say, what makes this the most ridiculous level of all of the 3 optional character missions, because Percival's just not built for making those jumps. And considering this is her level, that's ridiculous.
It's also kind of stretching my suspension of disbelief in that you're already supposed to burst into flames just being near lava, but you're in a fucking volcanic region wearing, like, plate armor and whatnot. Jesus Christ, you must be cooking alive.
It's Blaze the Cat, she'll be fine.
Okay, I just looked up the Sonic and Black Knight plagiarism fan art thing, and apparently it is true that one of the people who entered did plagiarise it, and it did end up in the game and they weren't able to recall it, but he did get punished in that he didn't win a free copy like he was going to, so I guess karma in a way, but you know, this was the era before convenient patches, so yeah.
Yeah, very true, mate, very true.
So there was that issue, and another situation sort of like that was in the Wii version of Sonic and Sega's All-Stars Racing, where they used a piece of fan art of Princess Sally as a placeholder and forgot to take it out.
Oh no.
And that ended up in the final game, which they managed to patch it out of the 360, PS3 and PC ones, but once it's on the disc with the Wii version, it's just there. So that's fun. As far as I recall, the artists for that ended up being cool about it, but you know, maybe that's why we don't see too many of these contests around for these kind of things.
Well, it's so easy to manipulate, really. All you gotta do is take someone's, like, artwork that doesn't have a watermark on it and claim it's yours.
Yeah, which nowadays there are easier ways to check with that kind of thing, like, you know, now Google have their reverse image searching and there's that Source Now website, but I don't think they were things back then, so it's a lot harder to just track down individual pieces of artwork.
Yeah. And I think also, considering that was earlier years of the internet, I don't think the artists were quite so on it in terms of realising that people really do like to plagiarise and not credit things on the internet. It's a bit of an epidemic at the minute, but there we go.
Flame, this is so tedious, mate. Just let it go. Thank you, Jesus.
This was annoying me more than it was annoying you.
I don't care about you, I only care about me. Me.
Well, fuck you, I've got to keep talking. But I always say that in terms of the art thing, this is something like a conversation that I see coming up a lot, and I will say, like, obviously not going to defend plagiarism and that, but in terms of like artists not watermarking and protecting stuff, there was a very different fan art culture back in the day. Like,
Yeah,
we're talking around 2008 and that, and I remember it was not so much nowadays. Like, a lot of artists are drawing things. A lot of them are trying to build up a portfolio, and they want to do this like either as a job or they want to just like build up their own platform, and like that's a thing now. Back in the day, it was very much just solely a hobby kind of thing, and I remember that a lot of people were very conscious of things like, you know, running ads, monetization, and that, to the point where like people would be chased off for trying to, you know, do that kind of thing. And that's because every fucking morning on DeviantArt for a period of time, you would wake up to all kinds of copyright bullshit, which was not fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've put them all in the sword containers, Tom. So I think we've got the Sonic mission coming up next, if I recall correctly.
Yes, the Dragon's Lair, which, I'm not entirely sure if this was necessary, like, just to fight a giant dragon before we go take down Merlina, but I guess they wanted one level for all 4 characters, so...
Well, it does make sense to have a bit of Sonic representation to round out this particular story arc, and this section, I remember having a lot of trouble with some of these jumps when I first played this.
Yeah.
Nowadays, what I found is the blessing is mid-jump, if you just press the jump button again, you just go straight down, and you will need that in this level. Even if you haven't up to this point, make liberal use of that, because it stops you flying into the abyss at so many spots here.
Well, we call that Stomp from the Secret Rings days, Flame.
Well, yeah, but like this time, the game doesn't really force you to do this through many sections, because it's less likely to just throw you in a pit during the earlier levels than Secret Rings is. Because this game does actually control a lot better than your waifu game.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
Don't fucking pat yourselves on the back too hard. This is still a poorly rated game. It's just like saying your shit is better than my turd, so to speak.
Well, I mean, with that said, I think that this game was really seriously underrated by critics. Exactly the same as Sonic Unleashed. I think that this was a time when, if you look at the way critics were reacting to Sonic, there was a lot of... It was cool to not like Sonic, even though the games weren't horrendous. Obviously, there was Sonic 06, which, let's just say, is divisive and definitely not well made. You've got Secret Rings, which is also divisive and not necessarily well made. But this was sort of in the period where they'd started to get themselves back on track, and there is no way in hell that either Unleashed or Black Knight are worse than Secret Rings or 06 and should not have been rated as such, but that was just sort of where we were in terms of reviewers, and I think that where we're at now is perhaps a slightly more reasonable position
I don't
because the more recent Sonic games have not been phenomenal, so I kind of agree with them not getting scored that well, but I think they've all ended up with better scores than Black Knight, which I do think is absolutely ridiculous because I just don't feel that is correct.
Richie, there's not much going on in the game. You just like waggle your sword like from A to B, you know what I mean? Like, the Secret Rings...
Through this, it's not a waggle game. Like, if you time it properly, you can have a lot of fun with this. It's you waving your thing around like, you know, like no one's business. That's why you're not enjoying it. Stop being wrong, Tom.
Shut up, you. Shut up, you. I agree with Richie. There was a culture of like Sonic was never good, which strikes me as, if not just being just a shitty, unprofessional reviewer, a little bit like gaslighting, really. Like, you're trying to make it seem like Sonic, again, was never good, which wasn't... There was a Sonic Mania during the 90s. I was alive for that. I remember it happening. This motherfucker had like 2 or 3 cartoons, okay? I grew up during this and Pokemania, so I know what I'm talking about. And there's like a pushback against this sort of like negative, cynical, bad faith take culture nowadays, which thank fuck. Sometimes I just want to discuss Sonic, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
I understand the flaws, And honestly, I feel like Black Knight got what it deserved, but at the same time, it's like, I want to just discuss the game. I don't want to be like, oh, Black Knight had this, but did you know it's a bad game?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. And then, but did you know it's a bad game? Okay, you can fuck off now. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It doesn't make you intelligent, it just makes you obnoxious.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, and like I feel like the culture, it's still very much here. It's just the difference now is it's not so much quote-unquote professional publications, it's more just hack job YouTubers.
Yeah.
And like, I know, like me talking about hack job YouTubers, I'm well aware, but like, there's a kind of thing that when you can be a complete fucking obnoxious hack about it, and then you still get Aaron making cupcakes for you, it's like that is still very much enabled, and I don't like that particular side of the culture, like in the Sonic community.
Agreed.
Well, since we're like being passive aggressive with it, let's go like the full 9 yards and just say we're talking about Aaron Ego Raptor here. It's not so much that he doesn't like Sonic. I don't really care if someone dislikes something I like. It's when they start to do bad faith takes and try to manipulate like the basic narrative. Like I said, I don't think Black Knight is a good game. I think it has technical problems, I think it has like pacing problems and whatnot, and content problems. Like I feel like the swordplay should have been like should have had more care put into it. But at the same time, it's just like, whoa, Sonic is a bad game, whoa! And it's like, shut up. I just want to talk about it in like a very objective manner, but you're just like being a fucking clown for no reason, because that gets hits and whatnot.
It does, like, it's no secret. If you're on YouTube, then Sonic videos will do well, no matter how good they are, or no matter how shit they are. But, like, you can still cover Sonic and be funny covering Sonic without, like, lowest common denominator. And I realise that this is a bit tangential to the Sonic fanbase, because a lot of the people who buy into that they're not Sonic fans, they just want to laugh at the funny man laughing at the funny blue hedgehog. And I kind of get that, that's not representative of us. But, it's still a little bit annoying that that's still enabled.
Like, even that is fine. I don't mind if people want to take a shit on Sonic, personally, to a certain extent. If it gets too much, I'll call it out. But then, like, people like Ego Raptor will have the tendency to turn around and be like, well, how do you enjoy this shit? It reflects badly on you as a person, and so on. And I think we're going to end things there, because we are coming to the finale, and I don't want to like overshadow that with just me bitching about other people bitching, but I hope you understand the point we've made here. It's not enough to just say, whoa, bad game! Ah! You actually have to be objective about it if you want to be taken seriously. You can make hacky 3-hour videos where it's like, Sonic Universe is shit, and yes, I was saying that intentionally. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be taken seriously outside of that unless you're objective. And a bad faith take is a bad faith take no matter what year it is. Okay, finale time. How do we feel about the finale of this game, Richie? Where would you rank it in terms of the 3D Sonics?
I really like it. I would say that it's definitely, I would say, in my top 5, actually. I mean, I think I'll always sort of have, in terms of sort of final everything, I would say that Unleashed has my favourite Sonic finale, and that's just sort of saying, despite the flaws, I really like Eggman Land all the way through to Perfect Dark Gaia and the ending. I think that it's a really good end to that narrative.
I agree.
I think the same here. Like, this entire final level is really good. It's definitely the best characterization that Sonic has ever had. I think it's really well done. And I do really enjoy the final boss. I think it's got a great final boss theme, and I just really like it. And so that's basically it.
Yeah, I will say, on a similar kind of note, actually, I just really do like the entire setting of this conclusion. I like the mood, I like the final boss, and just the ending itself is just beautiful.
Yeah, this is where the writing shines, I think, with like Sonic's ideals clashing against Merlina's and whatnot, because she wants a world that never ends. Sonic is a character that always keeps running and never really looks back. So in that regard, it's actually kind of interesting, and you actually get a little bit of meta narrative here with her actually telling the future of these characters and so on.
Yeah, and having Sonic, like, being, you know, his free-spirited kind of character, it develops him in a way that they haven't used that before, because that, in certain areas, with certain characters, is very much like a lack of character. They don't want to commit him to anything, so they just have him as, like, the just free-will character, does whatever he wants. Whereas here it's like, very much a case of Sonic thrives on this personality. This is how he gets by it, and that's why it isn't compatible with the idea of, you know, this super serious lifestyle where you want everything to last forever and keep going. It's not him, and I like that.
I suppose sort of going a bit further from that is it's very much his whole carefree lifestyle is also his ideal. Like, that's the way he wants to live life. See what I did there?
Yeah.
But so it actually means that rather than this just being I need to save the world from bad guy, this is actually a clash of ideals, and that's just always a really interesting place to get into.
And Caliburn just broke his cock.
It's fine, don't worry about it. That's kind of fucky, using his corpse as a weapon after the fact, you know what I mean? It's only stands can take out other stands, Sonic, you should know this by now. Look, it's appearing behind her like a fucking stand. What do you want me to call it? It's pretty cool though, I'm not gonna lie.
It's like that cool. Dark blue is sick.
Wow, my childhood is dying on screen as we speak.
What, in the sense that Sonic is getting smashed about by a tentacle thing?
Yeah, also in the sense that Sonic was never good. Send me cupcakes.
No, Sonic! There is no point in continuing!
You should just kill yourself right now, Sonic! You gotta make it...
His foe!
Sorry, I had a stroke during the middle of that. I don't know where I was going with it.
I noticed.
Jesus. This is the most, like, Sonic ever gets fucked up in a 3D game.
To do with chivalry!
I think it is actually. I think they can kind of get away with that because the art style doesn't show it too graphically like a lot of the other art styles would if you were to take this kind of damage.
This is like Sonic encapsulated for me. It was never about chivalry for me. I just gotta do what I gotta do, that's all. I'm just a guy who loves adventure. Speaking of...
Yes!
Doesn't matter, guys. Doesn't fucking motherfucking matter! Let's do this shit. Caliburn combined with... I was going to name them properly, but all the other swords. Yay, I've closed the Wikipedia pages. And then we get something actually pretty neat.
Oh yeah, I love this so much.
I thought we were going to get Supersonic at the end, but we got the next best thing here, which kind of stands up against Darkspine's for me. Excalibur Sonic. We get Caliburn back, and maybe we can go even further beyond this. Unleash the power!
This is cooler than Darkspine's by a mile in my eyes.
God,
maybe
yeah.
it's just because I like the night aesthetic and that, but you know, he's got fucking golden armor and a shining sword. Like, what more could you want from a super form?
It just reminds me of Kamen Rider Grand Zeo, which I've been into recently, so yeah, let's do this shit. Flame, this is your baby, this is your game. So take us through how we defeat the final boss, your take on it as a final boss, and I guess after that, how we're like wrapping up the game. What's your overall thoughts?
Okay, so the objective of this boss is basically just to dodge all the shit she's flinging at you until you're able to get in closer. Then she'll do some like timing, you know, sword swings, which is your chance to build up your Soul Surge meter. And then once you got enough of that, you can use the Soul Surge and start inflicting damage on her. And it's not really that difficult, all things considered. Like, it was difficult to get the no damage rundown, but like just doing a casual playthrough, you can do this without too much trouble. It's a lot harder to get perfect hits down because, I don't know, it's like the timing feels a lot more difficult to pull off. As you see in there, I'm slipping on quite a few.
Yeah.
But that probably just is the fact that, she's the final boss and it's going to be a lot harder to hit her efficiently.
You can slash these things, and I'm pretty sure it does speed up the process here.
I think you can. I don't know whether it actually gives you Soul Surge or not, but I've always found it more reliable just to do the dodging left and right kind of thing. And by that I mean I was blatantly just imitating Cyber's strategy because he's actually good at the game. But
As a final boss, how do you think this one ranks?
I would say it's the best of the storybook games. It's much better than the fucking wank off the remote from the Secret Rings one. And in terms of just 3D bosses in general, it's pretty good. I would say I still prefer stuff like the Final Hazard, probably Solaris, Perfect Chaos, stuff like that. But this is plenty of fun, and I do like it a fair bit.
Wow, we're on the final phase already. Richie, your take on this final boss mode?
Yeah, I would say sort of pretty similar. I'd say that it is a really fun fight. It sort of it encapsulates all of Black Knight really, in that it's really fun. It's got a really great soundtrack. It looks awesome, but it's not necessarily perfect. Also, this is a really cool ending blow.
Fuck, but anytime runic symbols come up there, it's like, come Kingdom Hearts!
So yeah, I do really enjoy it, and I do really love With Me. It's a great final boss theme.
It is. I was expecting Night of the Wind to be there, but I think tonally With Me just works a lot better.
Oh god, yeah.
With Me is a fantastic song. We didn't really talk about that, but the vocals on that were done by two of the vocalists from the group All Lens, and the rhythm guitar, I believe, was actually done by Marty Friedman, who was in Megadeth for a period of time, and he's also done one of the weirdest things I've seen his name to is he was also playing the guitar on Moon Pride, the Sailor Moon Crystal OP, the first one, which is a little bit out of the comfort zone of a metal guitarist, but hey, that's cool.
There you go. Melina was voiced by Melissa Hutchinson, by the way. Sorry I didn't bring that up until now, but I guess with her at her lowest point, it was a sad enough time to bring it up,
Yeah, and after that final scream, I think she needs a fucking lozenge, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was some good acting there. Jason Griffiths is probably the best he's, ever gonna be as Sonic here, which is good, because they were about to make the switch over to the new cast at this point in time, with Colours on the horizon. And, I think everyone brought their A-game to this, vocally, visually, it's a very nice looking game. The OST is really good. It's not in the upper stratospheres of quality like 3K or anything like that, but it's strong. I would definitely categorise it as strong. The story is decent. I would have preferred it fleshed out a little bit more with some more story missions, but overall I have warmed to Black Knight over the years, and as a game I will say it's superior to Sonic and the Secret Rings. No doubt in my mind about that.
Success!
It's just more polished overall. Yeah, Sonic was King Alpha all along, guys, so what the fuck. We'll see you after the Super Mario Maker 2 playthrough, when we're coming back with all the side missions and whatnot, so thank you for that, Flame, you piece of shit. See you then, guys. We hope you've enjoyed the story of Sonic and the Black Knight. Bye-bye.
So yeah, that's what happened. To think I was called in to be part of the tale of King Arthur. But I gotta tell you, it was no picnic.
Aren't you forgetting something?
What? All the action? All the excitement down to the wire? But man, would have thought I was the real King Arthur. Huh.
That's the lamest excuse ever! You just forgot about our date!
No, it's true, I tell ya! Yikes! No! Amy, wait! Put down that hammer!